Yes, yes, yes. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Oh, we are back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, it is I, Jean-Luc Welch, host of the Welch Report. We have returned. I have returned. Oh, I've missed this. I've been busy. Grad school, trying to make sure I get my education, my master's degree. Yes, I graduated with a bachelor's in sport media. So excited. But now, moving on up, trying to be an educated Negro. So all the white people can call me master with the master's doctorate under my name. Oh, that's a joke for you, Uncle Love, when you listen to this. Oh, boy. But look, we're back. We're here. We don't want to waste any time. Let's jump right into it with the first thing on the docket for today is, yes, you hear that. It is the Lakers' worst nightmare as they have been eliminated from playoff contention. My goodness. When I tell you this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. I'm not a Lakers fan, legitimately. I'm a Spurs fan, San Antonio, at least until Greg Popovich retires. Now, I'm from Charlotte, but don't ask me why I like fundamental basketball. I just do. But aside from that, Lakers and LeBron were my favorite teams to watch because I like to see history. I want to see what LeBron's going to do. I wanted to see what AD was going to do. And specifically, I wanted to see exactly what Russell Westbrook was going to do with one of the most unselfish superstars in the NBA today. I'm thinking, okay, he had a good outing on the Wizards, had some of the most efficient numbers in his triple-double reign, averaging 22, 10, and 10 that year. Played alongside Bradley Beal, another dominant scorer. And it was rocky at first, but then boom. By the time the second half of the season started, he got his stuff together. Thought I was going to get that in Los Angeles. My gosh, was I wrong. When I tell you that this is legitimately one of the worst pleasures, not even pleasures, one of the worst displeasures I've had in watching basketball in a long time. This was like, you ever hear, whenever you're in a DJ booth or in a club, wherever you all hoodlums try to go out and have fun at, you hear the songs getting ready to come, everybody's getting hyped, they do the setup and everything, but the beat never drops. That's what the Lakers were. The beat never dropped on this team. Consistently, it was a constant flow of just mediocrity throughout the entire season. Outside of LeBron, and I'm not saying this trying to ride him, legitimately, outside of LeBron James, there was not one other bright spot that this Lakers team had. Anthony Davis averaged 22 on the season, 22 and 9, but was hurt the majority of the year. Malik Monk showed bright spots, but then could never, one of the most consistent players, but only put up 13. And even then, with his consistency, it was still spotty. Carmelo Anthony is one of the brightest spots for this entire team the entire year. And he put up the same averages as Malik Monk. But for the majority of the season, he was the third option, in many cases, the second option for this entire team. They tried to put in Isaiah Thomas. Trash. Taylor Horton Tucker. But it played so inconsistently, I can't even get his name right consistently. Was spotty the entire season. Avery Bradley, old. Austin Reeves showed some promise as a shooter and as a spark plug that Alex Caruso was last year in the championship year. Boom. Wasn't able to keep it consistent. Stanley Johnson showed promise and then faltered back out. Trevor Ariza, old. Wayne Ellington, useless. DJ Augustine didn't do anything. Rajon Rondo got traded. Dwight Howard didn't get played for most of the year, and when he was in the game, didn't put up nothing but 5 points. Kent Bazemore, utterly abysmal. DeAndre Jordan, gone. Darren Collinson, trash. And a bunch of other no-names that didn't do anything for the squad. This is where the question becomes, who does the blame fall on? Do you put it on one person or is it a collective group? Well, let's just stop all the, media noise that you hear, and let's just get straight to the facts. Fact of the matter is, putting this roster together is in part LeBron's fault. It is. You can't put that off of him. Forming a team, everybody was right in their doubts. You have too many old players that are past their prime to the point that they can't produce on a consistent level. You don't have the youth. You got a bunch of shooters that They signed like Wayne Ellington, Carmelo Anthony, Kent Bazemore. Bunch of these players before this season averaged 40% from three, excuse me, or at least hovered around that vein. And then was not, you brought him in, okay, they'll be able to stretch the floor. They'll be able to make offense, make room for Anthony Davis, make room for LeBron, and make room for Russell Westbrook to drive and kick. Plain and simple. A simple plan. But their age finally called it. Outside of Melo, every other bona fide shooter that they brought on that squad wasn't even able to keep up that level of play, the bare minimum, because their age caught up to him. Dwight, his age is finally showing as a big man, and there's no backup big man on this team. AD and Dwight, that's it. And then LeBron wanting to have Russell Westbrook, even though the Lakers offered DeMar DeRozan a deal, but they weren't willing to give him 3 years, which is stupid. In hindsight, it's stupid. And shoot, with foresight, it's stupid. Understanding what Russell Westbrook is as a player, he is a man. I've vouched for him. I will admit, I have vouched for Russell Westbrook as a bona fide star who just had a couple bad years or was on bad teams. Hence why everybody said, okay, he's stat padding. Now, I still don't believe that he's stat padding. That is a stupid statement. Utterly ridiculous. Stat padding is when you are scoring with a minute left on the clock and you're down or up by 30 and you can tell when somebody's just trying to put up numbers. That's not what Russell Westbrook does. He plays as hard as he can, and I appreciate that. That still doesn't take away from the fact that he is one of the biggest problems why this team was not able to gain any traction and be inconsistent this entire season. The blame is on everybody. Don't get it twisted. But him specifically, reason being, is because of the fact that he did not adapt. The one thing that would have made Russell Westbrook viable on this entire team would be his ability to adapt his ability or to adapt to his physical capabilities on this Lakers organization. Oftentimes you saw Russell Westbrook playing like he was still in OKC in his MVP year when he didn't have anybody else to make offense. It was just him and everybody else. That's not what the Lakers were. But he was still trying to play with that same level of aggression, which again, I love, but now you have to be able to mold that aggression into a fine point, precise aggression, not just wide open, pedal to the floor aggression. You can't be moving 100 miles an hour when you're playing with LeBron James. And if you are, it has to be fine-tuned to a point so that it's always effective and it's not losing control of the offense. Russell Westbrook was consistently playing like he was still 28 years old, 26, however old he is. And the problem with that is he is not able to do the same things that he's been doing because of the fact that his athleticism isn't making up for the mistakes anymore. No longer can he just rely on, I got speed and I got explosiveness to get off the floor. Hence, I'm good. I can make bad drives. I'll be able to get up and finish. He doesn't have that anymore. The elevation isn't there. The explosion isn't there like it used to be. The body control isn't there like it used to be. Those things are what made Russell Westbrook so potent. Because it didn't make sense that somebody running and playing that hard was able to consistently always be effective. And that's because of the fact that he then, again, his athleticism is what allowed him to get away with how he played in OKC and how he played the majority of his career. But now, it's not. The lift isn't there. The finishing isn't there. The mid-range game is completely gone. That was the only other viable option for him. The three-point game, utterly abysmal. 29% from three. Horrible. And then you look at his numbers. Okay, he's averaging 18, 7, and 7. Ooh, that looks good. No, it's not. It's not good at all when the brother is averaging plus 5 turnovers every game for the majority of the season. It made no sense whatsoever. None whatsoever. Excuse me, he averaged 3.8 turnovers a game. That is utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. When you have somebody like LeBron that's able to take the pressure off, if anything, he was supposed to take the pressure off of LeBron and be able to run the pick and roll with Anthony Davis. Be able to get to the hoop. It's stupid that a player as driven as him didn't take the same outlet as Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose lost his athleticism because of injury. A potential Hall of Fame career derailed because of unforeseen circumstances. We don't hold that against him. What we would have held against him, or not necessarily held against him, what would have been over his head is, man, he was so great and you just took everything away from him. Now, however, we're looking at Derrick Rose and he's got a second career. Averaging 18 a game was one of the bright spots for the New York Knicks. Has completely evolved his style of play to fit his body and fit his physical abilities. And now is now a viable player. Took a couple years, but he got there. And now he's a valuable asset that can either be traded for some value or put on a bunch of teams and instantly make that team better. But that's because he turned his physical weaknesses into new opportunities to expand his game. Russell Westbrook hasn't been able to do that. Excuse me, he refuses to do that. And now you see where he is right now. And because of that, the Lakers are in a completely horrific bind that they can't get out of. They are looking at a situation where they can't move a soul. Not one player on the Lakers, except for Anthony Davis, maybe Taylor Horton Tucker, who ruined everything that he was worth this season. Malik Monk and Melo. Yeah, that's it. AD, Melo, Monk, and nobody else. Unless you want to trade LeBron, and that's not happening. Those are the only three, Davis, Carmelo, and Monk, that can actually get anything in a trade. Anything. Horton Tucker was supposed to be the valuable guy. We held on to him. Not we, they held on to him. I'm not affiliating with this team. Absolutely not. Not affiliating with this team at all. And again, they thought he was going to be the next development, or the next developing player to make, to be the next it guy, per se. Take over the load. Be the guy that we can rely on. Not off the bench, but in the starting lineup. But the problem is, the Lakers organization is not an organization built to develop. That's OKC. That's Memphis, as we can see right now. Lakers are a win now type of franchise. They don't develop. And because of that, they have to be very meticulous when they go all in to make sure that they're able to succeed. Lakers organization is literally championship or bust. That's it. There is no make young stars. At least while LeBron is here right now. And understandably so. But because of that, you have to be mindful of who you bring on the team. And now, because they didn't go young, because they didn't go young in the lineup, because they did not choose to get Buddy Hield, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, players that all could have gotten on the squad. Any two of them could have gotten on the squad. At least guaranteed Buddy Hield and DeMar DeRozan could have gotten on the squad. And you would have been able to keep either Kuzma and Caruso. Potentially both, if at minimum not one of them. Guaranteed you wouldn't be able to keep Caruso because he was willing to take less to stay on the team because he loved Los Angeles. And he was one of the best defenders, if not the best defender outside of Anthony Davis and LeBron. And he was a spark plug. He was that guy who when he gets in the game, because he thinks at such a high level, does not make mistakes, has sneaky athleticism, and is willing to make the smart, scrappy plays that many stars don't do. He's an incredible asset to this team. He's an incredible asset to the Bulls right now. There's a reason why they won the top seeds in the East. And one of the best teams in the entire NBA. Now, are they going to win a championship? Absolutely not. Because against the very best, they've gone not undefeated, but they've been defeated every single time. Whether it's the Nets, whether it's the Suns, whether it's the Bucks, whether it's the Sixers, whether it's the Nuggets, they haven't been able to win a game this season against top teams, top three. If they've won one, whoop-de-doo. Ooh, you won for 11. Either way, they've been abysmal when it comes. The gap between them and any team below them is steep. The gap between any team above Chicago is equally as steep at this point in time. They're lacking, how do we say it? They have defense and they have scoring. The problem is that they're just a good team, but they're lacking that thing that Memphis has right now. Memphis has a consistent air about them. It's hard to describe in teams, but you can kind of tell when, they got it. You can kind of tell when a team is successful and it's not a fluke. Because when you watch them play, it's like you can see the separation. You can see we're walking around like we're different because we are. Chicago, they know they're good, but when you watch them play, they don't play like they're a step above anybody. Once you get to that elite level, you can tell that they hit a wall. It's like when they play Milwaukee. They hit a wall when they go against the top three teams in the NBA. Now, granted, when I said the Nets in that whole spiel, the Nets are not a top three team. They haven't played like that the entire season. However, they still have, even without having a top three team in the record, in the way that they play, that I see come playoff time. Mind you, come playoff time, I think they're going to have that it factor. And they're going to flip a switch and be able to take over and play up to their caliber. Not necessarily on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, they're going to get their stuff together. And Lord knows if Ben Simmons actually plays come the offseason, come the playoffs and in the play-in tournament, if he actually shows up strictly defensively, then you'll see the separation. You'll see the real hierarchy arise as to how good the Nets actually are. But with the Chicago Bulls, they don't have it. They just don't have it. They're missing something. They're missing, and I can't put my finger on it, but they're missing a presence when they step on the floor that they're able to grasp onto to say that, we're coming for a title. They're a threat. Don't get it twisted. They're good. They got the pieces. They got Nikola Vucevic, former All-Star center, who's finally getting shine on a good team in Chicago when he's been an All-Star in Orlando. Been the only bright spot in Orlando. They got Zach LaVine, who's turned into a real offensive threat. DeMar DeRozan, MVP candidate. Lonzo, defensive great and a great facilitator. Caruso, great defensively and a great spark plug. Young cats like Patrick Williams, Derrick Jones Jr., you hear the names and you see, okay, yeah, they have some legitimate promise. Problem is they just can't reach that brass ring of walking into their greatness. Will that come next season? Hey, we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, they don't have it. They don't have it, and they're probably going to get knocked out in the first or second round. Most likely. That's the most likely scenario. They're going to get knocked out in the first and or second round. But that's just the nature of the beast. But, again, Chicago wouldn't even be in this position if the Lakers did what they were supposed to do and not hire somebody that had a sketchy, quote-unquote, star status. And when I'm going back to the point of they're stuck, they don't have the cap space. They're over $20 million plus above the cap limit. Westbrook's locked up with a contract that he's going to take the player option, most likely. Some sources are saying he's going to guarantee that he's going to run it back and re-sign with the Lakers. And they're not going to be able to move him at all. And they have nobody that any team wants outside of maybe Anthony Davis. I would say, honestly, trade Anthony Davis for Karl Anthony Towns. I understand completely that you're not getting the same caliber of player. I get that. Oh, that's wholeheartedly. That's guaranteed. That's not even a question. You're not getting that same level of player. In fact, some people have that exact reaction. Laugh at my face, talking about trading Anthony Davis for Cat. Reason being, I would say trade him if you can, because of the fact that you might get some more consistency from Karl Anthony Towns being available. That's what you may get. You may get Karl Anthony Towns actually being able to consistently play on the team and not be hurt the majority of the time. He played 73 games this season. 73. Anthony Davis played 40. Anthony Davis had played 40 games. Season before played 36. Season that they won the championship, 2020, played 62. He's only twice played above 70 games. Twice he's played 75 games in the season. Karl Anthony Towns has played 82 games, 3 times. Fourth year played 77. Injured in 2020, only played 35. Again, injured in 2021, played 50. This year, healthy, played 73. He's available consistently. On top of that, the brother ain't playing in Kobe's low top shoes for a 6'10", 6'11" big man that's playing in the post. That's another thing that I'm getting on with Anthony Davis. The cat's playing in the wrong equipment, which is hurting his ability to stay healthy. It's always ankles and feet. He's always rolling something or tweaking something because he ain't got the right support if you watch him every time he steps on the floor. Them low-top green Kobe's. Kobe 8s, Kobe 7s. Every time. Never anything that actually provides what a big man needs. I'm not trying to harp on LeBron, but you see the bulky shoes that he wears. Are they as fashionable? Many of them aren't. Not like a Jordan. But in terms of on the floor, the things will keep your butt stable. You ain't getting hurt in those. You ain't. And there's plenty of Nikes and other apparel that he can wear that can keep him or at least lower the risk of him being injury prone. As long as he keeps doing that, you're going to see the same thing. Now, I hate that he's hurt. I hate that this keeps happening. I hate that this keeps happening. Because he's one of the best big men in the entire league. Him, Jokic, Joel Embiid, Giannis, all of them, some of the best big men in the entire league. He's right up there. Problem is he ain't available. If you ain't available, you're not worth anything. You're just not. That's the nature of the beast. You're not worth anything. And you can't keep investing in something that isn't able to actually produce. Say what you want about Russell Westbrook. The brother keeps on playing, even if you don't want him to. Lord knows I didn't this year. But he kept staying healthy. At minimum, the cat was always there, even if he was playing absolutely abysmal. Minimum, the brother was there. 78 games, the cat was there. Russell Westbrook had to experience turmoil and strife that entire time, but look, I can hang on my hat, the brother was there. If anything else, the brother was there. That's not Anthony Davis. There might be time for him to move on. Trade for Cat. Let AD and Anthony Edwards and Anthony Davis have a go. And then bring Karl Anthony Towns down to Los Angeles. He probably won't mind. Probably won't mind at all. Get some more consistency. You still get a great offensive player. Got to understand, he's still giving you 24 a game. He had a 50-point game this year. He's one of the best offensive bigs in the entire league. Now, as a passer and that can use some work, he's not a great rim protector. Not a great rim protector. But hey, he can get up and down the floor. He's a cat, shot 53% this year from the field. 40% from three. Lord knows you need that on the Lakers right now. Pick and pop and pick and roll, he's viable. He's been in situations where he's been the only offensive option and has actually produced. He's shown that he can be a great number two and still elite. Shoot, you pair him with a player like LeBron, you might make an all-star team. Like he did this year. But the problem is the Lakers are limited. And they put themselves in this bind. They let LeBron have the ability to be GM, understandably so, but he messed up. And then on top of that, they could have overridden his decision, given DeMar the money and the years that he wanted, still had plenty of money to keep the core pieces like Caruso, like Lonzo, like Kyle Kuzma, like JaVale McGee, and Dwight Howard. See, that's the problem with this Lakers squad. 2020, they had everything. Didn't need to make one lick of change. And they blow it up. They had depth, they had size, they had length, they had strength, they had shooting. And they had defense. All across the board. A rotation of big men. You could play JaVale, then you could play Dwight. You can play them at the same time. You can play Dwight and AD. You can play JaVale and AD. You can play JaVale and LeBron. You can play Dwight and LeBron. You can put JaVale out and play small. You had everything. Everything. And you know what JaVale McGee is. Went from being a laughing stock to a core player. And you let him go. You let him walk. You had Rondo, but then you let everybody go, and now he had nothing to work with. So you let him go? I'm glad he's gone. I don't want him dealing with this mess. It boggles the mind the amount of ineptitude this season. And we know Frank Vogel's going to get the X. We know it. If Doc Rivers is on the docket to potentially get a spot on the Lakers, and they're going to vouch, or excuse me, press, try to pick him up. Oh Lord, you know Frank Vogel's out of there. You know he's out of there. Partially because of his performance and the fact that he's a defensively minded coach that relies on a fast break. And when they had a team built around that identity, they were successful. Now that they blew it up, he's out of his element. Offense is standing around, no movement. Everything when the Lakers had the championship was set for them to be contenders all the way until LeBron's contract ended. All the way. All the way. But now, you're looking at this team, they're a laughingstock. They really are. Laughingstock of the entire league. Every time I look at that team, I shake my head. I've turned off games. I love the NBA. I have turned off games trying to watch the Lakers. In the first quarter, I've never been this appalled watching a team play, understanding that the fix is easy to make, but the execution is handled so abysmally bad. When people say this is one of the worst Lakers teams in history, it's a yes and no. Yes, because no, because of the fact that there have been worse. My gosh, there have been worse. There have been teams that 21-61, 27-55, 17-65 in 2015, 2016. Oh, there have been some bad squads. But this is one of the worst because of the fact that the expectation and what was reality were so far apart, and it could have been reconciled with simply three things. One different signee in DeMar DeRozan or Buddy Hield. Two, you don't blow up the team that got to the championship in 2020. You want to be running into this problem. Or three, Russell Westbrook in a similar situation in OKC in terms of at certain points in the year, he is the only cat on the floor that is responsible for making stuff happen. And he doesn't adapt his game. He doesn't. When he is, in times when Russell Westbrook was poised, I'm not even getting on when he was with AD and LeBron on the floor. I'm talking about when he was off. I'm talking about when there were times when LeBron and AD was hurt. And it was just him. And he still did nothing to adapt his game. Because I don't even want to talk about when he was with those two. Because when he was with LeBron and AD, playing at that same speed, that same out of control aggression, led to a highlight reel of failures. You can make a whole Shaq thing a fool just off of him. Just off of Russell Westbrook this season. It's absolutely ridiculous. And they can't move him. Lakers put themselves in this situation. And not even unless, I don't see a way out unless they trade AD. And try to at least run it back with a player that will actually be there the entire year. That's the only way I can see this happening. I want Anthony Davis to be healthy. I want potentially Frank Vogel to be able to figure out a way to make this offense click. I want, if they don't keep Frank Vogel, hire Doc Rivers, and maybe he can ride the ship and make something out of it. Will it happen? With the way this is going, probably not. Probably not. And it doesn't help that LeBron had one of his best offensive seasons this year. Normally, I don't buy into the whole 37, or he's old, or, oh my gosh, what an achievement. No. Normally, I don't buy into that. This is a special exception. He's 37 and has successfully adapted his game to be able to be a top 5 player, if not, no, top 5. This year, he wasn't top 3. I'll give him that. I understand that. But despite that, you can't name more than 5 that played better than him this year. He's completely evolved his game. And we saw an incredible offensive display. 3-point shooting, immaculate. Shot 35%. Averaged 30 on the entire year. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's actually dumb when you think about what this man was able to do and all the criticism he's still getting. He's still putting up the similar assist numbers throughout his entire career. 6 assists, 8 boards, standard, and then highest scoring, one of the highest scoring years in his career. If not the highest. This would be the highest if the season ended today. 30.3 points a game. This would be his highest averaging year in scoring. With no offensive help whatsoever. Outside of Anthony Davis and Carmelo Anthony. And in some cases, Malik Monk. That's it. 52% from the field, 35 from 3. Shot above his free throw percentage at 75 this year. And he's getting criticized for not making the playoffs. Everybody's saying, oh, he put the blame's on him. Yes, because he's a leader, you do put the blame on him from that perspective. Because that's his role. But that's it. You still are obligated, if you know basketball, to put context in all of this. This is a man who has done everything a team needs to do throughout his entire career. And he was called on to be the only viable offensive option. And he delivered. Multiple 50-point games. Had a string of games where he was scoring 38. 38 and 10. 38 and 8. 36, 8 and 6. Dumb. Absolutely dumb what he was doing. And people still got the nerve to criticize him because of the fact that he didn't make the playoffs. And he did everything in his power. Everything in his power. I'm not doing it. You're going to give this man the respect that he deserves. Single-handedly, when he understood that a roster that he made wasn't working out, took the reins, took control, and played as hard as he could to make this season, at minimum, somewhat salvageable. Minimum salvageable. And if you're a real fan, you're not going to sit here, and you should not sit here. I'm not talking about a real fan of LeBron. I'm talking about a real fan of basketball, not of LeBron, of basketball. Should not sit here and say, oh, LeFraud, oh, he's a bum, Oh, look at that. He can't make the playoffs. Oh, he's done. No. No, 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 no. Absolutely stupid. This brother deserves better. This cat did everything in his power, and the rest of the team faltered. Faltered abysmally. Is Rob Pelinka going to be able to make a difference next year? Who knows? They ain't got no money. They only got one core, valuable trade asset in Anthony Davis, because they're not giving away LeBron. Nobody wants Russell Westbrook. They're kaput. They're nothing. They don't have any outs in this situation. And you hate that. Because the NBA is better when the Lakers are better. Strictly as a fan of basketball, the NBA is better when the Lakers are better. When the Lakers suck, there's a certain air that gets sucked out of the building. And it's a pain to watch. It's a pain to watch. We'll see if they can get this mess together. We'll see if they don't waste LeBron's last years in LA. But one thing we know is for sure. Stuff ain't right. Many people are to blame. But all in all, the mistake started 3 years ago. 2 years ago, excuse me. The mistake started in 2020. This is why you don't get away from success. Success isn't something that is, how you say, just able to be attained on a whim. That's in rare occasions. Most of the time, success is built. And when you find it, you keep it and maintain it. You don't just say we can do it again at any time we want with anything that we choose. It's not how life works. And sure enough ain't how the NBA works. You all started your own demise in 2020 when you let JaVale McGee go and you let many of your core offensive players and your core pieces like Caruso, like Lonzo, like Kyle Kuzma, just be gone. It's on you. The Lakers could have been Chicago right now, but actually have a shot at winning. The Lakers could be Chicago right now. You mean to tell me that if LeBron had Caruso and Lonzo on this squad, that they wouldn't be incredible? Especially with the numbers that he's putting up? You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. You're stupid if you say anything otherwise. Lonzo shooting just about 40%. Caruso leading the league in steals for the majority of the season, if not still now. Chicago is what the Lakers would have been this year. But you know what they are now? They're that right there. Silence. Quiet. Crickets. Making the song of the remnants of successes past. The remnants of a championship echo throughout the halls of LA. Every bounce of the basketball on Los Angeles' court echoes the previous years of dominance. Because they're showing up ain't making music now of with what they doing now. So bad that they ain't even keep the Staples Center. It's the Crypto Center now. Ain't even worth playing. This team ain't worth playing in the Staples Center. Doggone, I'm glad they changed the name Because I would be appalled if I had to watch this brand of basketball in an iconic stadium like named Staples Center. That just oozes when you say that name, an aura of greatness. This is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It really, one of the biggest disappointments. All around. Top to bottom. It's on LeBron because he picked the squad. Then it's on the players because they sure enough ain't produced. That's it. The only thing with LeBron is that he made this team. You can get him on him about that. Once you get that, there's nothing else you can say. Not one word. Everybody else, Anthony Davis, he's hurt. You say, oh, don't hold that against him. Well, it's kind of hard to when you know what would decrease the injuries. And he's not doing that. It's different if it's just life. And I get to a degree it is just life. But we've seen Steph change his equipment to help mitigate his ankle injuries. We've seen Derrick Rose take precautions to help make sure his knees are set. Sean Livingston, freak injury, came back. Was never out with a big injury to my knowledge ever again. And became vital and was consistent. So at some point, you got to look at it and say, well, what aren't you doing that's causing these consistent injuries? You have to. Because at some point in time, it ain't just, it happens. You can't just say that. You can't just say, quote unquote, it happens every time when it's like this. Because I'm telling you, if you look at the shoes that he wears, it's a big component as to why he continues to get hurt. No support whatsoever. None at all. Wasting his own years of his prime because of his inability to understand, or at least somebody tell him, that you got to dress for the occasion. And his occasion's down low in the paint. And he is showing off dressing like he on the perimeter, ready to guard Ja Morant and ready to dance like Steph Curry. And that's not what he needs to be doing. I'm not saying he plays like that, but he prepares like that in terms of the equipment that he uses. It's a big component as to why he keeps getting hurt, in my humble estimation. But again, it's problems across the board. Problems across the board. Westbrook, you're not elite anymore. You dropped off from being elite to now you are, if anything, a liability. You're there for name and name alone at this point. If any team wants to pick you up after your contract, because I guarantee he's taking his player option. And they ain't going to be able to trade him for nothing. Not one team wants Russell Westbrook. And for good reason. Because the brother is not conducive for winning. And I hate to have to say that, but I have to say it. He's not conducive for winning at this stage in his career because of his inability and his stubbornness to adapt his game to fit the environment that he's in. He's not a player that you can just say, do you, and it'll be just fine. He's a player that has to be able to change so that they can succeed. But he won't do that. Because as great as he is, and as much as I love the motor that he has, he refuses to gain the wisdom to actively make himself relevant and effective. He's playing the old record. He's playing the same song over and over and over again. And that same song worked in the club, but Now it's time for a different tune. But the brother doesn't know anything else. He don't even know how to chop and screw his own song to at least give a new spin on things. And that's what's going to be the downfall of Westbrook if he continues this. His inability to adapt himself and re-establish a new identity for his style of play. It can still be fast, but now it's got to be smart, more precise, more controlled, a lot more change of pace rather than just straight up boom, boom, boom. He can do it. He's got the ability. Will he? Only time will tell. And at this point in time is telling me that keep on hoping. Because Lord knows that ain't going to happen. Buddy, that ain't going to happen at all. My goodness. I tell you, for this to be the first episode back in a long time, I'm having so much stress talking about this team. And I hate the fact that I had to keep up with this team all season long. The whole NBA hates that they had to keep up with this team. Because it was just one disappointment after another. And let's just hope they turn it around for next season. Because my gosh, if they don't, you want to talk about some backlash coming the Lakers' way. Whoo, boy. Yeah, they got a championship. And you can't take that away from them. But right now, you can definitely take away the semblance of pride that they have as an organization. You definitely can. You can take away their ability to hold their heads up. Yeah, you got a championship. But the rest of the world is going to say, what? But then what? You won and then you let yourself go to pot. And it didn't have to be that way. It all started in 2020. And they'll never let that down, that they let that championship squad and that great amalgamation of young talent. And I've had my gripes about Kyle Kuzma. But he would have been better than what they have right now. My goodness. It's utterly ridiculous. Let's just hope that we see something new come next season. But this has been the Welch Report. This has been the first new installment of the show. Oh, man, I'm going to do my best to keep this up and keep this going. Hopefully I don't fall off the wagon like the Lakers. Yeah, I had to throw it in. That was a joke. I know it was bad. It was cheesy, but I don't care. This is me, and you're just going to have to stick with it. So, this has been the Welch Report. I have been Jean-Luc Welch. I'm so happy that I had you all along for this ride. Let's keep this up, and let's keep this going, and I will see you all in the next episode. Be safe, be blessed, and everybody have a good day.